Now, this is an interesting list because I've had to rewrite this list a couple of times because just when I thought I had it locked down, I would see another movie or I was told to go see another movie that would guarantee to make the list. And they were right. So here are my 6 best horror movies of 2024. Let's start the list off at number 6. Speak No Evil. This is a movie that, I'll be honest, I was not really expecting a whole lot from, even though James McAvoy was the star, and of course, he always gives a banger performance. This is still a movie that I just kind of thought, I don't know, felt like maybe we've been there, done that plot-wise, or see something like this before. But once I saw it, I was very amazed by what some people would say slow build, but I just thought it was great tension building and it was great character building of seeing this couple interact with James McAvoy and his wife and his kid. Even though I knew the trailer and I knew where it was going to go, it still was amazing to see how well he subverted any weird situations or any weird comments or anything that would look suspicious. But then when things ramped up for the third act, it definitely ramped up and it made all of the waiting well worth it. Number 5, Late Night with the Devil. A movie that I think a buddy of mine told me about. I'm not sure if I had heard of it beforehand or if it was on my radar. But he told me he went to the theater and saw it and just was very blown away by it. So I said, all right, I'll watch. And this movie was very good. It sort of had a premise that stuck out as something different, where you're seeing David Dastmalchian, who is a great actor and he's been around forever. That it was great to see him starring in a movie, being the lead of this film, and he's the host of a late night talk show, and so that made it different. And the horror surrounding him and the show, this particular episode, was different. And also it was that time period. It was seeing the behind the scenes stuff of him in his personal life, and that bleeding over to the stuff that was happening on stage. Obviously the possession, the girl that is on the show and everything that goes on there, the craziness to it. You could argue that we've seen girls possessed a lot, right? That's the go-to for that horror, and I've admitted that possession movies are not my favorite. It sort of feels like it's rinse and repeat, but I thought this, the way it was shot, the way it was handled, the way it was delivered, this made it feel like something different. Number 4, Abigail. And man, I wish, deep down, I wish I could have this even higher than where it already is, because I was blown away. I saw this film because I think it was on Peacock or something, and I watched it, and it was just, I love this movie. I had so much fun with it. It was directed by the same guys that did the most recent Scream movies, so it had a certain level of energy to it, a certain level of horror that felt like a different level. But also the cast, the actual cast, and the premise of them being hired to kidnap this girl of a rich guy. And so at first it's kind of fucked up. I have to also mention that I knew nothing about this plot going into it. So I was surprised along the way as I was watching the events unfold, and seeing that this little girl was a vampire completely shocked me. I love me a good vampire movie, and there's not a lot of good ones, but this one definitely was that. I liked the humor along with the tension and the scariness that I at least felt. Number 3, Alien Romulus. And I know some people were really upset that I had issues and complaints about Alien Romulus, probably not realizing that I still enjoyed this movie. I still really loved most of this movie. I mean, look at where I have it on the list. There is a reason why. Despite what I was upset about, more so, I'll say the last 15 minutes, I still think everything else about the movie was so good. I'm talking about the characters, especially the 2 lead characters. I'm talking about the acting. I'm talking about the direction, the cinematography, how well the effects, the practical effects, the special effects looked given that it's a movie in a franchise that has seemingly gone more CGI in more recent entries. So I appreciated the more groundedness of what they were going for here. I love that this movie made the xenomorphs scary again, because the xenomorphs, to me, that's all you need. To me, the xenomorphs, if handled right, if presented right, are enough for me to be like, fuck yeah, this is scary, this works, and this is enough for an Alien movie to sort of be brought back to its roots, which is how I felt about this. I know this movie takes place in between Alien 1 and 2, and for some people, they might not have liked the Easter egg stuff. Again, I had less of an issue with the Easter egg type stuff, or the stuff that was like, hey, remember that android character? No, I just didn't enjoy the last few minutes. To me, it felt out of nowhere. It felt force-fed. It felt rushed. For my number 2, a movie that I saw very recently, The Substance. Wow. Talk about being blown away. Talk about seeing a filmmaker that probably hasn't been around all that long. What she was able to do with such little budget, with just a great idea, a great premise, and 2 great actresses who were able to pull off the complete opposite ends of the roles that they were playing. This idea of this drug that is supposed to bring out the younger, better version of yourself. You obviously get the appeal, you get the allure for that. But seeing someone like Demi Moore, being an older actress or an older starlet, deal with how people treating her in the business is changing, how they're kind of treating her like she's yesterday's news now. And that on its own is a great enough idea. But then you bring in the sci-fi, you bring in this high concept drug of this younger girl, and this actress was amazing. Her having to be like, she's the hot one. She's the one who comes in and everyone's obsessed with, everyone's in love with. She almost gets addicted to that type of feeling. And the back and forth, the push and pull of Demi Moore and this girl just like ruining their lives, basically, when it comes down to it. But for my number 1 favorite horror film of 2024, Smile 2. And I guess I wasn't sure if the sequel would be able to pull it off, right? Smile 1 was such a pleasant surprise. It took a premise that could have easily have been a joke, could have been trash in a different director's hands and somebody else's hands who didn't handle it as carefully as they did. But that first film delivered, and it sort of brought a new level of scares, psychological scares, that I thought really worked. And this sequel, I would almost think that this is directed by a different person. It has a different feel to it, a different energy to it. I love the premise of following this singer and how her fucked up past with drugs and whatnot can sort of be applied to the way she's acting now because of the horror going on. Everyone just thinks that, oh, she's just using again, or she's just acting like a typical person in her position and fame that you kind of see in real life with singers who sort of lose their mind and go crazy. It just, I love that dynamic of how that was brought into this premise. I loved seeing especially her relationship with her friend, that I guess, was that real? A lot of scenes you're wondering what's real and what's not. The ending, super depressing, yes, but it does make me think. If nothing else, because I've said I didn't love the ending, but I am super curious of if there is a third one. How are they going to pull that off? Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think of my best horror of 2024? Do you have your own list? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.